I'm Colin,
And I'm Megan.
and this is
Pet Sitter Confessional, an open and honest discussion about life as a pet sitter.
brought to you by Time to Pet. Being in business for 16 years is no small feat. And Korye Miller with Murphy and Me Pet Sitting has a lot to share about her experiences over the years. Today's interview focuses on those experiences as she shares with us things that she wished she would have known when she first got started and her best advice to pet sitters out there. Tell us about what you do.
My name is Korye Miller, and I own a pet care company called Murphy and Me Pet Sitting, and I am based out of San Diego, California.
How long have you been doing that?
Well, I started pet sitting in Coronado when I was 12 years old. So I've had a business for about 16 years, but I've had it licensed and professional for about 9 years now.
Wow, that's quite a long time in this business, it seems like.
Yes. Well, when we moved to Coronado, I do not know if you're familiar, but it's kind of like a small island and you can walk everywhere. And I wasn't used to that. So I started kind of walking the dogs and walking my grandpa's dog around and meeting people and walking their dogs. But I never, as a kid, being able to walk places, I've never done that before. So it was really fun and really freeing. And it was really fun to be able to take the dogs places and meet people in like a small island like that, a small community.
Yeah, I'm sure that's pretty foundational in how you interact with people and some of your expectations that you have as far as running your business to this day.
Yes, 100%.
So I got to ask, where did the name come from? Murphy and Me Pet Sitting.
Well, I had a basset hound. Her name was Murphy. She passed away in 2012, but she was my first dog I ever had. She was a 90-pound basset hound. So you can imagine this large breed on these little tiny legs, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But I took her everywhere with me. Like she was like my little co-pilot. So everyone would always kind of say, "Oh, there's Korye and Murphy. There's Korye and Murphy." It was just kind of like we were just a package.
Mhm.
Everywhere I went, whether I was walking dogs, doing overnight, she was always with me. So I kind of came up with the name of Murphy and Me Pet Sitting because I kind of played on it with kind of both of our business. So
Yeah.
that was where the name came from because we both worked it.
Oh, that's great. So that's so sweet, and I know it was in 2012, but that's I'm sure that still impacts you when you think about that to this day. So how did Murphy inspire you to continue working with pets and other animals?
Well, I would say because getting a dog at a young age at 12, and just kind of learning the responsibility of taking care of her and having something that fully relied on you, it really helped impact also just my way of business as well, just being responsible at a younger age. I've always loved animals, but I think she definitely taught me responsibility, and I think that that's really helped with walking dogs now or my business.
Yeah, and also that extreme level of commitment. It was not a fly by night kind of thing. It was a lifetime friend that you had with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was also my first dog. I've always been that kid that had all the hamsters and the lizards and the cats and stuff, but she was my first dog, which I've always wanted a dog. So she was like, I mean, she was just like my best friend. And so I would say she taught me a lot. And I was really happy to be able to name the business after her because I just named it actually just a year after she passed away. So actually, when I named it, it was actually called Island Dog Walkers when I had her.
Hmm.
But when I got the DBA and it licensed and everything, I named it after her a year.
Yeah, what a great memory to keep moving forward into all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you offer these days?
So I offer play dates, walks, visits, overnights, and I just recently started doing full service baiting, which isn't even on the website yet. It's very brand new.
Oh, so
So,
what made you want to offer bathing?
well, it's kind of funny. I was kind of getting frustrated because I have my little dog Lily now. She's a 6-pound rescue Chihuahua.
Oh,
And everyone being busy, I was trying to get somebody to come to my house to wash her because I didn't want to have to bring her to the groomer. They sit in cages forever. And then also just finding the time to take her and pick her up. And I remember sitting there going, gosh, I just wish someone just came to your house. And then it kind of just dawned on me and I was like, oh, I could do that. I'm like, oh, I should do that. So I just started doing it myself. Because I'm just like, there has to be other people that think the same way as me, where they don't have the time to bring the dog, or they just don't want to have the dog sitting in cages all day
Sure.
at the groomers either. So that's why it's brand new. It's going to be on the website by the end of this week. So
Oh,
it's a very brand new thing.
that's fantastic. So how are you marketing that new? How do you plan on marketing that new service?
Well, for right now, because that's not my because it's not my primary thing, the play dates and the walking would be the main things that I do. Um, I'm kind of doing a little bit of like a soft launch with it. So I'm just doing an email to my primary clients. I'm doing a little bit on the Instagram. But that's kind of for now all I'm doing to get the word out. And then it just kind of becomes a domino effect of word of mouth. That's how I feel like it will get out. And that's how I'm going to go about it for now.
Sure. Yeah, especially as a potentially like an add-on service whenever you are doing drop-ins or play dates or those kind of things of just, hey, by the way, if you'd like to
Hmm.
have, that's great.
Yes.
So when you're transporting dogs for the play dates and these walks, how do you do that? Do you have any special harnesses or equipment that you use when moving the dogs in your car?
Yes. So I actually went kind of full all out with this for the dogs, but I have a truck, I have a Tacoma. And what I did is I added a cab to the back, and I also completely carpeted the bed and the walls of the truck.
Hmm.
So it's all secure for them. And on the kind of like the little tie downs that already come on the truck, I attached a double sided chain to those, and the dogs get clipped in either by their harness or by their collar. And I also have a crate that's clipped in with one of the chains as well, depending if it's a puppy or chewers or things like that. I'll put them in the crate, but it's kind of all for the dogs. And the dogs are primarily on the small island, like I was talking about. So the speed limit's not more than 25. So we have all the windows open. I mean, the dogs stick all their heads out because they're on the chains, and they just love it. And people, it's like an attraction to people. People take photos. I mean, it's hilarious. But the dogs absolutely love being in the truck.
Wow. Oh, that's how many dogs can you fit in there at one time?
It always depends on the size, but mainly with large and medium dogs, probably I could fit about 9 in the back,
Hmm.
in the actual just the bed of the truck comfortably with
sh-
their chains and all tied up.
Sure. Wow. So was that a system that you just kind of that developed over time, or was that something that you envisioned from the very beginning?
No, it did develop as I got busier with the play dates. I used to have a car, and it would be a mess. I mean, the dogs were trying to jump to the front, they were chewing up the seat belts. It just wasn't working. I used to do that in the beginning when I just had a little bit of dogs I would take, and I would do the little dog seat belt, and it was easy. But when I became really busy with this and got a lot of dogs, it really didn't work anymore. So I ended up just getting the truck, and the truck was completely just for the dogs. That
Oh,
was the whole point of the truck, and everything, and putting the chains in there. And it was kind of funny because when I first got it, I had leashes attached with the double sided, but it was actually just the kind of the fabric leash, not the chain.
hmm.
And I had one dog in there chewed just who ended up chewing his leash off, and then he set all the rest of the dogs free as well. So it's been a learning experience with the truck. I think I have it down now with the chains, but it was really funny. I opened the back, and I just see every dog was off their
Right.
chain, and he chewed everyone free. So I'm still learning, but I think we're kind of at a point now where it's very secure, and I have everybody kind of down packed to how
Yeah.
everything works properly. I have certain ones in the crate that chew the carpet. So I kind of have a good structured system now with them, but it took a little bit to get it together.
Yeah, well, that's a great reminder for people just starting out or people who've been in it a long time. Of
Yes.
it's a learning process, and you may think I nailed it this time, but there's always going to be that one dog that's like, nope, never mind.
Yeah,
But
and chew every yeah, and it's one of those things. Yeah, I'd tell people, just as a thought, before you get regular leashes, always consider maybe getting a chain when they're attached in a car or anywhere. To be honest, because they can chew those dogs. They can chew straight through a leash if they want to.
yeah, given enough time and boredom or initiative, they can. Yeah, it doesn't take them any time at all.
No, or they're just anxious. They're excited, especially if they know they're going to the beach. Like I take them, it's kind of like a kid going to Disneyland. I mean, they are so amped up and excited that they can chew those leashes through within
Yeah.
the 5 minutes of getting from their house to the beach. They can do a lot in that time.
Yeah. So on that, for your play dates when you're transporting these dogs, are there set areas that you take them to, or do you kind of is it whatever's closest to particular clients?
So all of my clients are primarily in Coronado, which Coronado, like I was saying, it's a small island. So pretty much anybody is going to live right by the beach at the
Mm.
same beach. It's just very small area, small town. So I take them to Coronado Dog Beach, which I love too because it's a very safe beach. It's actually ranked one of the best beaches in San Diego as well, and cleanest and just friendliest. And so I just kind of got lucky, actually, how that worked and how everyone was by the beach. And I used to sometimes take them to the park if it was raining, but I do notice that there's a little more conflict with dogs at parks than the beach. So I stopped doing that, and we just do dog beach.
I wonder, why do you think that is?
I heard from a trainer that I spoke with that possibly it's because parks are a lot smaller than the beach, and some
Mm.
dogs tend to get a little territorial. It wasn't ever my dogs, because I always do testing with them, make sure they behave. But it's just it is a lot smaller. The beach is huge. There's the water. There's so much more to do. So I did know there's little tiffs sometimes at the park, and I think it's because it's smaller.
Sure. Well,
Um, yeah,
that's a good note to have for some, people making sure that they are thinking of all of their options. You don't just have to go to the local dog park if there are other wide open areas where dogs are allowed off leash, venturing out and trying those just to see the experience.
yeah, you definitely want to test it because in a situation like that, it's a very high risk situation in certain in depending on where you bring them. So you're going to want to put them in a situation that's the least likely something's going to happen when you're out there with 8 dogs.
Yeah, so
So that's why I just stopped the park. What happened twice? None of my dogs have ever gotten hurt, but where you just see that little tiff, that little a way a dog's behaving that you can tell might escalate. And I've seen that a couple of times where I take the dogs and get them out. I don't want to even be a part of that. But at the beach, I never run into that because we go early and it's always just the people we know. It's always the locals, and we never have problems at the beach.
hmm. I'm curious how you manage 8 dogs on a beach, without too much mayhem or chaos.
Well, so I always tell people the biggest chaos would be when we get all it is when they get out of the truck because they are so excited. They are jumping out and they're falling all over each other, because they're so excited. And then
Yeah.
walking up is a little bit tricky, but I always say it's all about structure and knowing every single dog's exact behavior. So I know
Mhm.
certain dogs I know need to be on one side and certain dogs need to be on the other because say I put two puppies on one side, us walking up, they're going to be playing the whole time and tangling up the leashes. So I kind of structure them in the way that they're gonna more likely walk better up. Um, the easiest part is when they're off the leash. That's
Yeah.
the easiest part of the whole thing because they stay with me. I think they kind of think of me as like the pack leader, and I feel like the dogs do respect me. They really do. They stay with me. They never leave. They're always with me and stay together. So I never have a problem with them at the beach. Even new dogs, they just kind of catch on quickly with how it works.
Sure. And you mentioned there like the most important part of that is having a structure, having a
Hmm.
system and making it predictable for them so that they
Yeah.
know. And the crazy part as you mentioned was just getting out of the truck and to the beach, but once they're there, just dealing with that excitement. So, you know, making sure that you're observing the dogs that you're with, especially when you have multiple around you, so those little things. And I love hearing that of, oh, this dog needs
Yeah.
to go on this side. This dog needs to go
Yeah,
away
and
from this other
it's
dog.
all of them. They all have something. And for anyone that thinks that you're just taking them out of the car and it's easy as that, there's a lot more that goes into it. Even when I tie them up, I have ones that go in certain spots. I have ones that have to get picked up before others because they're weird. They're just dogs. They do weird things, and one gets weird with the truck, and if a person walks by it, she gets upset about it. So she
Mm.
has to be tied in the back. So it's just it's just you just have to learn them. You start to all their personality, all their ticks, all the weird things they do, and then you just do anything to prevent that from happening in ways to help the situation.
uh, on your website, you have your policies posted kind of front and center, very easy to
Mhm.
find. Why was it important for you to have them so visible like that?
Because I like to be very upfront with everything that I offer and the rules, and also with my services pricing, everything's in detail just on the website. Because I like when somebody goes to my website, they read the policy and my services and pricing. I like for them to 100% know. okay, this will work for me. This looks like everything is going to work and we can move forward, rather than me not really telling them everything. And then we're already kind of halfway in and they're like, oh, I don't really like the way that you're doing that, or I don't like that way that policy is going,
Mm.
because they didn't know. So I just feel like it's an easy way for us to just make sure that we're a good fit for each other.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I think a lot of people take the first, meet and greet to do the initial screening, but by being
Hmm.
having everything out there, that's kind of a pre-screening of
It
make
is, yeah.
yeah, before they even call you or before you're even, meeting with them to make,
Well, yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of a way to not really really for them to not waste their time. You don't ever, just so then if they're like automatically they just go, okay, this will not work for me. And that's okay, because not everything that I provide is going to work for everybody, which is also why I actually have a page on my website with referrals to pet sitters in the area that I trust. So if someone says, okay, that's not going to work for me because they read something on the policy, I say, okay, that's fine, but here, check out these pet sitters that I trust and see if one of them can provide something that you're looking for. So it just kind of makes it easy and they don't have to waste their time. If I can right off the bat, they can.
yeah, and something that comes up a lot of times in this is that just like you said, it might not work for that person and it might not work
Mhm.
for you as the sitter. And so just being as transparent as possible just makes that easy. And then, you saying you've got the referrals right on your website, I was looking at
Yes.
that and I was like, I don't think I've seen any other person, or, that's not very common to have referrals
Yes.
right there. So,
Mhm.
why was that? And why did you decide to put that on there, and have it so accessible for other people?
Because like I said, I know that certain things that maybe I provide might not work for other people, and I would rather, instead of just saying, "Okay, no, that's not going to work. Sorry," end of story. I would rather help them moving forward, because,
Mhm.
or say it was a situation where, say I was booked, say they were looking for overnights and I was booked, so I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm booked for those days, but here are my referrals." People respect that, and I've had people that would actually call me again to ask for different days because they said, I appreciated you referring somebody and taking the time. And they
Yeah.
end up coming back again for a different service to see if I was available again. So I always feel like it's just nice to help people out instead of just kind of leaving them dry and they're looking for.
Yeah, and you mentioned that there are other sitters that you trust. How do you know them?
Well, my first one, she's actually my dog's pet sitter. Her name is Piper. So she's my biggest one, the only person I trust with my own dog, honestly, because my dog knows her. Um, so I met her. The other two I've met because, like I said, where I am, it's kind of small. It's a very small community. So I've met them around, or they've called me to refer people, and we just kind of met that way. But we're really, all the pet sitters, we're kind of really good at just supporting each other, and it's not really a competition of who's going to have the many dogs. We just support each other and refer. Um, if we can't do something, we're like, well, here we have this person that we trust, and we kind of build a bond with each other, which is nice.
Yeah, and 'cause sometimes that initial mindset is, it's all competition. They're
Hmm.
stealing dogs from me, but to then go, no, like this is we're community, not competition with each other, and
Right.
that's so freeing because as you mentioned,
Hmm.
you don't want to leave somebody in a lurch. So having someone you can trust to refer them out to, that gives you peace of mind in the long run, and you're continuing to help people.
Yes, 100%. And I always say, I was like, there's so many dogs. There's enough dogs to go around. So
Yeah,
I'm not worried that that someone's going to take all my dogs.
right.
There's so many dogs in San Diego. We all know that. We're not worried. We would just rather um, have what's going to work for each person better. That's
Yeah,
kind of how.
absolutely. Kind of a little bit back to your policies. Have you had any trouble with people not following them ever? And then, kind of how do you enforce your policies or how do you work through that?
Well, kind of the reason I put the policies up was because people weren't following rules. Slightly, I would kind of do it the nice way where I would just let people know certain things. If like letting them know what time the schedule needs to be in, and I would kind of remind them, and it kind of would get to a point where things were happening so often that I kind of that's why I ended up putting a policy up so it could just be in writing. And
Hmm.
I put it. I also have some fees for things as well, and it's not because I'm like, oh yay, I'm gonna make an extra $5. but it's because that's kind of like an incentive that gets people to kind of listen and know like, okay, this is serious because nobody wants to pay an extra fee for something, regardless the amount is. But I
Yeah,
really I had to put it up because people kind of, not everyone, but some people weren't listening to begin with. So that's actually
sure. Yeah, and as you mentioned, like these which, at first thought, someone would go, "Oh, she's just, you're just trying to make these small little dollars here and there or whatever." But it makes people think it because, it adds a little bit more pain to issues and kind of just self-enforces that if people know, oh, it's going to be $5, it adds
yeah.
one more hitch to that process.
Oh yeah, and I like to say I would rather not make the $5 and 100% would rather me be able to make the schedule properly and get it sent out on time.
Right.
So I would 100% would rather just people follow the policy than make that extra money here and there because someone's not following a rule. It actually makes it harder for me in the long run. So there's nothing really beneficial. For me, it's more just as an incentive to get them to maybe follow the rule more
Well,
likely.
well, yeah, because when that fee is being paid, it's causing you headache in the long run for that
Yeah.
process. It's like if nobody had to pay any fees, everything would be running smoothly. And as you mentioned, everyone. So, of your policies, how have those changed over time to where they currently are?
Well, they change as things become issues. So I may have, when I first put the policy up, there may have been four things. And if you look at it now, there's probably like 10.
Yeah.
But it's just because as things happen and they're continuing to be a problem with not just one person, but multiple people, that's when I'll start putting it up on a policy. Like even things that kind of sound silly on the policy, like maybe if you look at it and you weren't the one who did it, um, like something as far as it's saying, if your leashes and harnesses are not available, we cannot walk your dog because that has happened so many times that
Mhm.
we've went to get a dog and the leash and harness and all the things that we needed weren't available, and we just kind of spent that entire time going over there and there was no leash or harness so we couldn't walk the dog. So little things that just come up and are becoming continuous problems, I'll add on to the policy just for future for anybody else.
Yeah, well, it kinda reminds me if you ever look at a spray can and you look at the warnings on the back, I mean, one of the warnings
Yeah.
is like, "Do not use a drill press on this," and you're like, "Why did they?" "Oh, it's because someone used a drill press on
Yes,
this."
no, that is 100% why half the stuff you would read on the policy is on there. And you're kind of like, that's weird, but because it does happen, it really does,
Yeah.
and it's a
So
problem.
yeah. So as you add back and go, "Oh, that's," a pet sitter may push back and go, "Oh, that's being too strict.
Mhm.
That's too much." Has that ever been a concern for you, or has it just been "Well, I need to cover this so it's not headache down the road"?
Yeah, no, that was a concern for me. That's actually why the policy was only put up about a year and a half ago, was because I was nervous. I was like, okay, am I going to have people are going to think I'm being too abrupt or mean or rude or disrespecting them in a way for charging them and things like that? And that did run through my mind a lot. But at the end of the day, that's one of the best things I've ever done for my business was put the policy up. And when I did send the email reminder to all my clients are actually very supportive of it. They respected it. They were happy. And even new clients will tell me, we saw your policy and they liked it because they thought, okay, there's organization and structure. And that's going to be probably how my service is going to be with this person is organized and structured.
Yeah, and I think, that's the really big takeaway from that is that it looks professional, it shows organization, it shows forethought and planning. Hand off, their fur baby to you, like, that's what they want, as you mentioned. Like, they
Mhm.
wanna see all of that has gone into and that also
Percent.
yeah. And so did you have any pushback at all?
No, no, I didn't.
Okay.
Actually, even the people who knew, there's certain things on there that the person that did it had to be like, that that I was the reason it's up. And they know, they understand. They know, and they know that like they're like, okay, that's probably something I did, and I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So no, there wasn't, and it's also at the same time, it's not. There is the one side of the when you run a pet care business, there's the one side that's the you know cuddly, nurturing, sweet, to the dogs and that actual physical asset. But you are actually running a business too, and
Mhm.
that should be taken kind of in a different way as well. And I think people know that.
Yeah, and I think as the business owner, like that can kind of get lost in the shuffle from the day to day of
Hmm.
because we most of us started out just to spend more time with dogs and it was something we all love and enjoy doing, and then we find
Hmm.
ourselves, ooh, and I have to run a business on the side. It seems like, and
Oh
but
yeah, it's a completely. I always think it's like a completely separate thing. There's your
yeah,
passion, and then there's the business that you're forced to enjoy as well because that's put in there regardless. You don't get just one. It
yeah.
has to come together. You get the taxes, you get all that stuff, and you do have to learn that. I think no matter what your passion is or whatever business you're starting.
Have you heard about Time to Pet? Claire from Acton Critter Sitters has this to say.
Time to Pet has honestly revolutionized how we do business. My sitters can work much more independently because they have ongoing access to customer and pet information without relying on me. I save hours upon hours of administrative time on billing, processing payments, and generating paychecks.
If you are looking for a new pet sitting software for your business, give Time to Pet a try. As a listener of Pet Sitter Confessional, you'll get 50% off your first 3 months when you sign up at timetopet.com/confessional.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I'm curious what role social media plays in your business and marketing specifically.
Well, my social media, so I'm very active on my social media. I wouldn't say that I necessarily use it to market. um I'm not over here, trying to get 1,000 people looking at something, but more I like it as a more intimate way of so my clients see their own dogs. They enjoy seeing that kind of stuff or seeing their dogs photos up. And also I think a really good thing about an Instagram or social media, things like that, is say I'm getting a new client, it's almost like a portfolio. So it's
Mhm.
almost, I can have a client go to that page and go, okay, so she's worked with many different dogs. She's, and kind of just they can review the stories and things like that to kind of help them feel more comfortable with what they're getting themselves into. But it's kind of for fun. It's just my clients love it. They love seeing their dogs and keep, it's a cute little way to kind of keep everybody updated on their dogs as well.
Yeah, no, I've never thought about it in that context of it's like a portfolio, kind of
Hmm.
proving and showing the work, the quality, and the pets that you've taken care of as a
Right.
one stop shop to just see all of that in one place, and I think that kind of changes the algorithm in my brain at least as far as it's not necessarily direct marketing to people,
Hmm.
it's showing interested people.
Right. Yeah. And especially, as you guys don't have employees either when you're just doing it alone. We can't take 1,000 clients. So I'm not on Instagram trying to buy,
Yeah.
10K followers because I can't take on that many clients. That doesn't matter. So my social media it's for fun. It's cute. It's just a way to, it's a way to kind of keep the community and my clients involved as well as other people as well.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, no, that's a good point. As a sole proprietor, it's just yourself out there. There's
Mhm.
no point in trying to go
No,
and drum up thousands and thousands of big clients because
no.
your referral links would be really hot, I guess, on your website, but it would be
Mhm. No, you can't. Yeah, you can't take on. I get it more for maybe big corporate type of businesses, but for businesses that are small, that's not really what your goal is when it comes
yeah.
to social media, in my opinion, at least for me.
Oh
But it's
yeah.
for fun.
Yeah, Megan and I have that conversation a lot of when we're trying to grow or see how we can expand. It's like we just have to remind yourself, like, I can't sit every dog in the city. I can't sit every dog in the city. I don't want to sit every dog in the city.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And you have to, especially as by yourself, you have to think of ways you can expand in different ways, which is also going back to the full service staff. That was why another reason why I did that was because that was a way I could expand because I could kind of pick my hours a little bit more with that rather than it being walks during the day that primarily have to be between 12 and 4 when people are at work. As I can do at other times. So you just expand too, but we're
in
not going to need that many.
Oh, yeah, and in other ways to provide maybe new services to existing clients, so like the
Right.
the bathing one is a great example of that one. You don't necessarily have to take on new clients to do that. Can be something existing clients take advantage of, and it's another growth area.
Yeah, and it's a lot more flexibility as far as when you can do it too. As far as when it comes to a walk, people kind of need those walks at this certain time.
Mm,
The bath, that can be something I could do at 7 p.m. for someone, and that's fine. So
Right.
it just was a way for me to kind of work around the 24 hours in a day.
Right. Oh, that 24-hour limit.
Yeah, the limit.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so kind of with social media, your website, how important is that to your business? Do you find most people find you through your website, or is that or some other place?
It's very important. I would probably say the most way people find me is word of mouth, but my website is extremely important because it's where somebody can go to find everything they need to know is right there. Um, so then I'm not stuck having to kind of write out these constant replies that might not even seem very professional because I'm just, kind of blabbing about what I do as opposed to going to a website that's completely organized, has the exact pricing and everything on there. So my website to me is very, very important. For that, but I would say probably the way I get my most is from
A big question I think or a question that gets asked very frequently in a lot of pet care support groups and things like that is where to host a website and how to go through that process. Do you have any advice for somebody looking into?
well, so it was Squarespace. But I'm kind of lucky because my fiance is a web developer, so
Oh, okay.
he helped he so but I can't even really speak on that because he does everything for me. Even on Squarespace, I would have no idea what I was doing. I couldn't
Sure.
even just put a photo in my website. I have no idea. So I got lucky in that aspect that I can kind of do changes very quickly. I can add new things, but there is Squarespace and you can learn it.
Mhm.
I haven't, but I know that it's an easier way for people who maybe aren't familiar with code or things like that. But there's also too, if you're really just getting started and you don't want to do all that extra or pay the money for Squarespace right away. Um, I do know people who make a Google account and they actually will give you a free website that's very, very basic and very easy. But they will give it to you for free.
Yeah. And with that, I mean, that's a great way of saying like, okay, I don't know where to start. I need something that's easy and most importantly, in this case, free and basic. So let's start with that and then start building to a paid or a little more advanced kind of website. But just having some place to direct everybody to, as you mentioned, of a central repository for location and information that people are going to be searching for.
Well, yeah, and it's great if somebody asks a lengthy question or something, you can always direct them through a link. So if someone's asking, what are your services? I'll say, I'll give them a link and it'll say murphypetsname.com/services. And it
Yeah.
goes straight to that section. Or the same when I have to give a referral, instead of me writing out or having to memorize everyone's phone numbers, I just send them straight to the page. So it's just a really professional, easy, clean way to get your information across to everybody.
Yeah, and on that note, one of the tabs that I noticed right off the bat was you have a getting started tab
Mhm.
that I think
Yeah.
is really cool. Could you tell us about that tab and why you have it there?
Well, so the getting started tab, so that's where on there I actually have an application um, prior to the meet and greet. So you fill out an application online that's going to ask about personally about the client, about the pet, and also vet information as well. So it'll have you fill all your information out, and then you're also going to check the boxes that you've read the policy and that you agree to set them out for the vet stuff if something were to happen
Mm,
in that sense. So they'll send that in. I can review it first. So say it's a nice way because I can review it and say there's something immediately I go, okay, this won't work. Or, whatever reason, or I'm booked, whatever it will be. We can even skip the point of the meet and greet if it wasn't going to work as well. And I can refer them, or it's going to work perfect. And then I have a really good idea of what I'm walking into before I meet with the client rather than me kind of going in blind, like, okay, I just know they have a golden retriever and her name is Cindy. I kind of know exactly what I'm getting into. I know what I need to ask because I've had this person fill out an entire application. And then after we do the meet and greet and everything's set in stone, then I send them a follow up email with an invoice and schedule attached to it. And I have them confirm the schedule to know that we are 100% on the same page with what I'm doing. And then then
Uh, and that tab really speaks to your desire for that transparency of this tab.
mhm,
It shows you the 3 steps that are going to take place in this entire process, from prep, that application, the meet and greet, and then that invoice that's coming. It just clears all the air, and so everybody
Mhm.
knows what to expect. It's not some weird black box that they're going into of will they
Mhm.
respond? What it's. I really like just how forward that lays it out. Um, so kind of on the Instagram side of things, you've got some really adorable pictures posted. How do you about?
Well, I find it really important actually to take good photos of the dogs when, especially even not even just to post them, but even when you're sending them to the clients. Because I just think that it's more fun for the client to get a cute photo, not of just a photo of the dog running and it's blurry and you don't really know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Clients love that. I have people like, oh my gosh, I've had people who will print them out and put them in frames.
Mm-hmm.
And but I would say I always make sure that the background has something type of color that pops or something that's popping in the photo with the dog. It just kind of makes it look cuter. I'll make kind of these weird high pitched noises to make them look at me. So you kind of look like a nut, but it's the way that the dogs will look at you. But I actually
Uh-huh.
find it very important to take good photos of the dogs, especially the ones that you're sending to the clients, because it just kind of shows a little bit that you're taking the time. You're not rushing it to just get a photo real quick and move on with the day. You're really taking the time to send them a quality picture of their pet.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you finding yourself using your cell phone predominantly for those, or DSLR, or what? Okay. Yeah. No, I think a lot of people think, oh, if I've got to take good photos, I've got to go spend $6,000 to get the lens and glass and all that stuff in the body. And it's like, no, you start with what you have and take the time to do them.
Well, yeah, and I already say, I say, you're already spending about 2 grand on an iPhone. I mean, you better have a nice camera on there as it is. So these aren't cheap phones. So, and especially they have those new ones now, the pros that are amazing the way they take photos as well. And I think they take perfect photos as long as um, you can edit them on the actual photos on your phone, or if you're putting them in Instagram, you could edit through Instagram as well,
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of maybe sharpen things up or brighten up certain colors. But you can do all that through your phone or through the Instagram app. You don't really necessarily need, I mean, unless you're, a photographer or something, but if you're just posting them and sending them, they can come out pretty nice just
Yeah.
on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, I never would have guessed how important photography is in this business when we first started. I'll scroll back
Mhm.
through and look at some photos when we started 9 years ago, and I just cringe and I go, oh, we sent those photos.
Yeah.
But because it is so nice whenever you walk into someone's home or they show you, they're so excited with that they printed one off and they framed it, and you're just like, oh
Mhm.
my goodness, like that really does show that it's so meaningful to somebody to have that photo of their best friend.
No, it is. And it's just, and I also just feel like it just shows that you're taking the time and you're not really rushing it. You're kind of actually taking time to send quality. I know.
Yeah. So after all these years in the pet care industry, what would be some advice you'd give to somebody who is looking to retain their best clients?
um, I would say to never get comfortable where you are.
Mm.
Never just say, okay, I'm done. This is my max and this I'm happy here. You always have to keep improving yourself, always finding ways that you can do something better. Keeping up with the times. Like maybe 8 years ago when I was doing this, there wasn't like a big Instagram thing. I'm not even sure if Instagram was even around, but just things like that, keeping up with what people are doing so that you can keep everyone involved. I would say always prioritizing your long-term clients. Um, and doing little things for people that maybe you don't even think that's big of a deal, but it is. Like as far as sometimes on holidays, I'll give little goodie bags or things like that for the dogs. Or when I'm done with visits, I'll leave little cards, thank you cards with bones, or little cat toys if it's a cat. Just things like that, just doing little things.
In and day out.
Well, yeah, and you guys had mentioned before on one of your episodes about the thing with if somebody were to tell you you don't need to pick the poop in the yard, but you do it anyway.
Yeah.
It's the same with you. If you feed a dog and then you clean the bowl after, even if you can tell the person's never cleaned the bowl before,
Yeah.
just things like that. People really do notice it, and it goes a long way. And it just shows that you're kind of committed to this, and you really care because you're doing more than what's even expected. I think that's what you knew.
Yeah, it really is huge because it does, and it's not to say spend every waking moment stressing over all these little things. It's just,
Mhm.
oh, I'll whenever I'm done with it, or I'll make sure the water is topped off and refreshed, even though it doesn't look like it necessarily needs it. Just those are
Right.
things to take your time and show, as you mentioned, that you're paying attention and that you genuinely do care.
Yeah, exactly. Or like I said, when you're sending the photos or even the little uh caption that you put under it. I'll even just send little cute things like, okay, Captain's water bowl has been filled. He's had his breakfast, most important meal of the day. Like just funny things like that people just think are cute. And you just took that extra time, add the cute little emojis, just things that just show that you didn't just say, okay, here, okay, I left. And it's a
Yeah.
blurry photo and that's it. Like you took the time, you sat down, you really wrote out something cute that they'll enjoy. You'll even know, and just that you really took the time to make sure that.
Yeah, and I will say that can be really hard because whenever you're busy, sometimes you're just like, I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta go, and those can get lost in the cracks
Mhm,
when you're moving from client to client. But really being in the moment when you're with the client, you're with them, and
mhm.
in writing those great things, that takes some training. I feel like because that doesn't
Yes.
always come naturally.
Yes. Yeah, it does. It does. I've even to this day, I've always been improving on the way that I'm saying things or things like it, ways I feel like it's just cuter or funnier or just kind of just a way that they feel like they're the only client you have.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes, like even though you have a million others that you're going to or that are texting you on the side and changing up things and just causing a whole thing, you're just them making them feel like they're just the only one at that moment.
Yeah. What do you wish you would have?
That it is my business and not my client's business to um stand by my rules and stand by my prices and what I offer. To know that I can say no if I don't think that something's going to be a good fit for me or the client, and just going with your gut. If you don't feel like something's going to work or you don't have the time for it, that to say no. Don't try to just take everything just to accommodate everyone or just to feel like you're just filling up your day. Just make sure you actually can put in the time for certain things because that's something that I did when I first started off. I kind of just took everyone, and it wasn't that necessarily I even had the time to do that many dogs. So I think just knowing to say no and to go with your gut dog.
Mm.
Um,
That's that dirty two-letter word. No, it just doesn't feel
yeah.
good to say
Oh, I could
to
never
people.
say no. That was my someone could I could tell back then I could tell someone my price was $40 for something and they'd say, "Okay, I'm paying you 25." I'd go, "Okay."
Yeah,
Because I was just like, "Oh, okay, sure."
sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah. Yeah.
that's why I say, you could say no and that's I think that's why I'm so big on having things set out now is because
Mm.
I just want things to be set the way they're supposed to be and that's it. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, and for what's really nice about that is, if you are the kind of person that has a hard time being firm and saying something to
Mhm.
somebody's face, having it pre-written and out there for them to see that you can just send a link so that it's already said and done. That's such a huge weight off your shoulders.
Mhm.
At least it can be of nope, it's already there. I can just and it's ready to go.
No, definitely agree with that. And even if I have to add fees to an invoice because somebody was late or they didn't do something on policy, I don't want to do that. That doesn't make me happy or comfortable
Yeah.
to do that in any sense of the word. But it does make it a little bit better that I can send an invoice and put the link to say yes, this was on the website, and then there's no back and forth. That's
Yeah.
kind of like okay, that's how it was, and you can't really say anything back.
Yeah.
So
No.
it makes it a little bit more comfortable. At least I can hide behind the links if I have to hide from
Yeah.
saying that.
Which, like you said, you don't like having to do that, but you are standing by your business. It's your business, not your clients, and you can run it the way you want to. And
Yeah.
then having all those systems in place just really helps that process run so much smoother.
No, it really does. And I think that, like I was saying, I think that's why, mainly why I have so much on my website like that, because for so long I just didn't do that. And I kind of regretted a lot of things I did or things that I maybe should have got paid a certain amount for, but I didn't because I didn't speak up or stand up for myself on what my prices were. So now I'm happy that things are just out there and there's a link and it's easy and that's kind of just what it is. But that's kind of something that I wish back then, I guess even being younger, especially being younger, it was really hard to set prices because you're a kid. Who takes you seriously sometimes when you're 16 years old walking someone's dog and telling them your prices? It was a little
Hmm.
intimidating and it still is to this day. something's intimidating. I have to tell certain people my prices,
Yeah.
or or something. If maybe they seem a little put off by it. It's always intimidating, but it does help when it's just all written out and you just send the link and it's easy as that.
Yeah, I agree that that feeling of kind of holding your breath when you tell somebody your price, it's still there some days, and it
Yeah.
doesn't go away 100%. I don't think it does. There's always that, how's this
No.
person going to respond when I drop this number on them because they want their dog to be with me for, I'm taking care of their dog for 4 weeks, that kind of thing,
Oh,
or whatever,
exactly.
but having it there, it makes it a little bit easier. It gets those wheels greased and helps it slide just a tiny bit more. It's not 100%, but it does help.
Yeah, it goes. And then, if somebody moves forward, if they fill out an application, I know, okay, they've already looked at the prices and they're okay with it. So we
Yes.
don't have to have that weird conversation of, are you okay to spend X amount because you want, four services a day? That's going to probably cost a lot. So I already know they're okay with it because they've read it and they've seen it and they've agreed to it. So I know they understand. And so it's a little bit less intimidating going in.
Yeah. Thinking through what you use in your day to day, taking care of the pets and walks and all of that, I was wondering if you have any favorite products that you'd like for people to know about, or services that you currently use.
Probably my favorite thing that I have right now is called a pet corrector, and it's just a jar of compressed air. So it's really just a sound. It's not meant to be sprayed on a dog or anything like that. It's a noise. So say I'm walking, a lot of the dogs I walk are aggressive, which is why they don't go on the play dates. So it's usually the ones I walk are a little bit aggressive, whether it be to dogs or people or cars or anything like that. So I have this thing called a pet corrector. So if I'm in a situation where, say, we're walking and there's a dog right across the street that kind of just turns around the corner and we don't have enough time to really completely get away without the dog already getting in that state of mind of, oh, there's a dog, I'm going to get aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this compressed air that you just squeeze it, and it's this really piercing noise that it immediately distracts the dog's attention with just enough time for you to get out of the situation you're in. So it just kind of gets that mode out of, so that kind of that craziness that they get in when they see a dog and they don't like that dog, it gets them out of it for a second. And it's a way for you to get in control of that situation again, because you've kind of lost control. Once the dog's gone to that point, you've lost control now. Not that the dog's gonna go after the dog, but you've lost the control of the dog's mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So you do that, and then you can kind of get the dog to look at you again, and you can move on. And it really, really helps, especially when you're walking aggressive dogs. Because especially because you could do everything to be proactive and make sure that you catch a dog coming, but sometimes they just come around the corner, or if a cat comes running out of nowhere, that could be a problem as well. Or dogs at fences. We have that a lot in Coronado, where dogs will run right up to fences and start barking, and you don't even see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that, and it just really helps to try to just distract the dog really quickly, and you can get out of the situation.
Yeah, because you can only be so vigilant on a walk when you're dealing with all that to have this it's just a split second, but it's just enough, as you said, to get back in control and get the dog refocused on you so that you can move on.
Yeah, it's just switching the mindset for a second, just to be able to get out of it. I have one dog that doesn't like people, they don't like dogs, they don't like bikes, they don't like statues. It's at certain fences they're weird with. So it has really helped with situations like that. And it's also nice because it's not something that hurts the dog. It's not something that goes directly on the dog. So it's a very kind of a nice way to be able to get out of it without doing something.
Absolutely. Well, Korye, I really want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day and coming and talking with us about your experience in the past 14 years and how you operate. And I think it's fascinating, and really focusing on being transparent with everybody is just I really hope that helps some people get past maybe some mental barriers that they have to just get things posted and get it out there. If people are interested in following up with you, getting in touch, and seeing your work on Instagram and stuff, how can they best do that?
Well, you can just follow my Instagram, and it's Murphy and Me Pet Sitting, and it's just the @ so Murphy and Me Pet Sitting, and you can find me right on Instagram. You can find me on the internet. There's not a lot that are Murphy and Me Pet Sitting, so they're kind of easy to pop up.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty easy to find with that name.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, Korye, again, thank you so much for coming on today. We really do appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you very much for having me.
There was a phrase in that conversation that has stuck with me ever since I talked with Korye, and that was stand up for yourself. And I can't imagine a better way of describing just exactly what we have to do day in and day out, especially in this day and age, is stand up for ourselves and our businesses. Now more than ever, we are having to justify services. We are having to push back on the idea of what is or what isn't necessary and what we should. Korye's mindset of being fully transparent with everybody at all stages of the process really sets the standard, and I so much appreciate her describing why she had to do that. It's not that she likes pushing back or likes having to send those things. It's that it really makes the process a lot easier when you do have to charge somebody something, instead of having to write out a bespoke phrase as to why it happened, just a quick link and off it goes to the policy that's already posted and they've already agreed to. Those kind of simple mechanics in a business and just for personal clarity really, really helps and goes a long way to smoothing the process and ensures that everybody has a good experience when they interact with you and your business. This episode is made possible by our friends at Time to Pet. If you missed it earlier, it's timetopet.com/confessional when you're ready to make that switch. As always, we would love to hear from you, so check out our website, petsitterconfessional.com, for all of our social media links and phone number to get in touch with us and contact us. Let us know how you are doing.